let's have a look at hand setting, hand position before you catch the ball, before you hand set. So earlier on this YouTube channel I did a quite extensive series on how to learn to beach volleyball hand set easier. And even though it is quite in-depth and there's a lot of parts of it, there's one part that I didn't talk about so much that I've gotten some questions about. And it's basically how do we hold our hands before we hand set. And also some of the questions have been like how many fingers and how do we hold the ball when we hand set, which for me is sort of the same question. And I've also noted something interesting when I've been coaching one-on-one on hand setting to people, which is that how they think their hands are and how they actually are is quite often very disconnected. They think that they have this good ball that a ball will fit into well, but their hands are in reality they're something like this or whatever. So it's kind of funny because I've noticed that most people need more correction on this point than what would seem to be logical. So obviously you're not one-on-one with me here in real life right now, but I'm gonna try in video form as well as possible to explain how I think about this. So most people miss the difference between this and this, which is basically this small little wrist movement that, I don't know, maybe people are not so used to having their hands in this position because there's no other instances in life when you need to have your hands like that. So most people haven't necessarily trained that. But there's one really cool explanation that I found online on how to get this done, which is everybody has at one point or another been standing like this with their hands on their waist. And here, when you do this, your wrists are actually in the right position because you're not like this, so that, but you click that a little bit extra with your wrists so that you get this ball. And this ball is then ball shaped, so the ball just fits into it well. Okay, so that's step one, getting those wrists backward. And once we have done that, here's my ball, and I'm gonna show it from this angle for you. Once we have our wrists back there, there's a second crucial part. In part 2 in the video hand setting series, I actually talk about the release and how it should be even, how these 4 fingers should leave the ball at the same time. And for that to become easier to happen, I think that our hand positioning before we catch the ball, the distance between here and here and here and here should be roughly the same. So we don't want to have our hand position like that or like that. We want it to be somewhat equal. And of course, if you don't get what I mean with the release and fingers being equal, you can always go and watch part 2 in the hand setting series, and you will get on track and understand what I mean. So far we have 2 points. We have the wrists back and we have equal like this. And it's funny because even now when I'm showing this to you here on camera, I'm like stiff. Like this feels stiff and I need to be sort of engaged and uncomfortable in my muscles to even be able to show you that hand position, which obviously is not natural, because my natural would be just to put them up, something like that. And here, this is crucial, because if you're too stiff, and this happens to a lot of people, they build this perfect ball that perfectly fits the ball inside, but they lose sort of the touch on the ball because they're too stiff. So one way for me to explain this is that if you had a non-perfect ball, non-perfect hands, and you put the ball into it and it's too stiff, the ball is not going to mold around the ball. But if you're a little bit softer in your fingers, then actually your hands will mold after the ball once the ball gets there. So yes, your hands doesn't need to be surgically perfect, like ball shaped before the ball lands into them. But you have to have the softness in your fingers that when the ball gets in there, then it's like glues into the ball, and now your ball becomes actually ball formed because the ball is there showing the form that it should have. So this last part here is actually a pretty common error even in people that do regularly handset, because it's almost like some people, it looks like their bowl and the ball are distinctively two different things. It's like the ball is coming here and I have my ball and I'm gonna, take the ball and move it that way. But in video 2, the exercise I show is throwing the ball. You grab the ball and you throw it away. And actually, there's a difference between grabbing a ball and throwing it away and just having a ball like in your hands, sort of laying there and pushing it away. Oh shit. I hope you see the difference. It's this tiny subtle difference of just letting your hands actually have contact with the ball rather than, being very separate from the ball. I hope that makes sense. And of course, this video is absolutely not a full tutorial on handsetting. It's just sort of an add-on to my handsetting series, so go and watch that if you want. There were some comments. People asked me how many fingers do I have on the ball when I handset. So I thought I can show. Basically, this might vary depending on hand size for people, but here's my answer. So I have these 2 fingers at first, and when I put the ball in there, it's like the thumb has quite a lot of grip on the ball, and this finger, the pointer finger, has almost all of it on the ball. And then there's that gap in between that doesn't touch the ball. Second finger, middle finger, has touches from there and onwards. And ring finger, it's like from the next joint and to the end, and the little finger is sort of just like laying there, like touching it a little bit. So it's like a lot, a little bit less, and just minimum. And thumb is like as much as possible. So yeah, that's how I touch the ball. As much fingers as possible on the ball, or not really. I mean, you don't want to like absolutely like force it. But as much fingers as comfortably possible, being like relaxed and soft and having that touch on the ball. Cool, I hope that helps someone out there, maybe give some clarifications to something, some questions or something like that. It's nice, some of you guys have commented on my handsetting series that it's like the best tutorial that has happened, which is like really awesome. Basically, the difference between me and other people is I like to go in depth with things, and I could go even more in depth than this too. And I hope that people appreciate that. And this channel is going to be about trying to answer the questions that aren't getting answered in other places. Because generally, I believe people don't take time enough to actually wonder and go in depth with things. So if you're new to this channel, have a look around and click the subscribe button and stuff like that. And I hope I see you later.